Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the right side. Come back dab in the middle of the fruited plain. Today on the program, Kamala Harris and her campaign imploding, absolutely losing members by the boatload. Arab Americans voting now against her, going with Trump. Why? Because they oppose the radical left woke agenda and everything that it contains. Mayors from Muslim cities endorsing President Trump. Entire Muslim city councils and communities endorsing President Trump, outlawing and banning the LGBTQ kook movement and their agenda. Plus, on the program today, Irish author, Emmet Connor. Now, you're going to want to check this interview out. He'll be with us at 5:30. All of this and much more. Ladies and gentlemen, the right side with Doug Billings is now upon you. Are you ready? Let's go.
Hey everybody, my name is General Mike Flynn, and I'm here to do a big shout out for my great friend and one of the best in the business, Mr. Doug Billings. Right side with Doug Billings, right side with Doug Billings. Doug is the future of the airwaves when it comes to independent broadcasters and podcasters. He is the new Rush Limbaugh. He's exactly what America needs right now, looking for honesty, looking for wisdom, looking for truth, looking for patriotism. Listen to Doug Billings at Right Side with Doug Billings. God bless you and God bless America, and thank you.
Ladies and gentlemen, we are winning. We're winning, winning, winning. Welcome to the Right Side with Doug Billings. Are you ready?
We are not liberal snowflakes who melt away in the face of tragedy, adversity, and challenge. We are a covenant nation under God, and His divine providence is not dead and it's not gone. It is living within each and every one of you. And you will bring it to life in such a way that the world has never seen before. We never back down. We never give up. We march forward.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello. We meet over here, determined prayer, determined patriotism, the right side with Doug Billings. That is how we roll. Today on the program, before we get started, don't forget also DougBillings.us. I'm doing my daily homework assignment, reminding you that I am in the midst of a subscriber and contributor fundraising effort, if you will. So I want you to head over to DougBillings.us, please, and support the program over there. It's how I make a living. It's how I bring you the truth. And consider prayerfully so, setting up a recurring monthly donation of whatever you can afford over there to help me produce the program and get it out to you. I never charge anybody to watch this show. The truth cannot be priced. But we need help to produce it and to get it out to the masses. So I'm asking for this contribution. The monthly recurring donation that you can set up over at DougBillings.us would be much, much appreciated. That way I can continue to distribute to you intellectual maturity and news analysis and opinion that you cannot get anywhere in the world. And as a result of that, the bonus for you is, of course, that you get to become members of the most intellectually mature audience in all of podcast land. So prayerfully consider that, please, over at DougBillings.us and set that up as soon as you can. So today, ladies and gentlemen, so much good news around us. Despite what you see being cascaded down upon us, I understand that we'll always have to deal with compartmentalizing what the radicalized liberal media throws at us. And they do it on purpose because they're under orders from the radical liberal hierarchy. I mean, you know, the Obamas, the Clintons, the Susan Rices, the Nancy Pelosi's, and the Chuck Schumers of the world. They are under orders to manufacture fake enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, to manufacture fake polling apparatus and put out fake results, all designed, of course, to bring us down and to dash our hopes and to think that this whole election season for President Trump is hopeless. It is not. It is not hopeless. In fact, it is quite the opposite. There is a lot of hope out there, a lot of hope. I want to draw your attention to what's going on in a couple of states, primarily Michigan. The Harris campaign in Michigan and in the battleground states, Pennsylvania, even Wisconsin, Minnesota. I'm going to talk about Minnesota in a little bit, but Trump is doing great things with regards to numbers, and people's opinions are being swayed in these states. So Those are the battleground states on the east side in the middle part of the country. Also the Sunshine Belt states like Arizona, North Carolina, Georgia. Trump surging in the polls, and right at the right time. Up in Michigan, rather, there's a little town called Hamtramck. Hamtramck is a town that has a Muslim mayor. It is the entire town is almost 100% Muslim, and it has a 100% Muslim city council. So the mayor of this town, his name is Amir Ghalib. He endorsed President Trump earlier this week. So Mr. Ghalib is a Muslim. Hamtramck, again, a Michigan city, almost 100% Muslim occupancy. The city council is 100% Muslim. And here we have these endorsements. The mayor, right there, President Trump gets this endorsement. How is this possible? Why? How did it happen? You don't hear about these kinds of things in the mainstream media. This got very little attention, very little attention. They have done incredible things. And when you look at why, it really becomes clear, and it makes sense. This is a catastrophe for the Democrat Communist Socialist Party. An absolute, it's something they will attempt to hide, obviously, because you've not heard about it, likely, until just now. But it's happening because the Muslim community disagrees vehemently and entirely with the radical liberal policies, platform, and politics that are being put forth by Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. I want you to take a look, as I talk, a little look at Hamtramck and what it represents. Again, an all-Muslim town for all practical purposes, everybody there. And there are lots of these little towns throughout states like Michigan and Minnesota, mind you. So Muslims are angry. They're angry at the Democratic Party for an array of reasons. But in towns like this that you're looking at here, in Hamtramck, Michigan, the Democrat Party has not given a seat to people or issues that are important to them, primarily the Palestinians and all of their concerns. You know this. We saw it. We saw it play out during the convention that in Chicago, the Palestinian protests and so forth, the violence, the typical plays that they all do. All right, we saw that. Now, this town, I know that there's several of these types of things happening around the country. I draw this to your attention because it is hope, and we need so much of this hope. It's real hope based in reality. The Hamtramck City Council has banned, the first thing they did when they had these elections and they became a 100% Muslim city council is that they banned the LGBTQ pride flag from being flown anywhere on city government property. It's out of here. Unanimously banned. Okay, so the LGBTQ kook pride flags gone from this town's state government property. Okay, they view the LGBTQ kook agenda as a mental disease, and it is. They should. And these aren't the only people that believe this. The common Americans believe that. The vast majority of all Americans believe this to be true. In fact, it's something that the entire Arab American voting public has now, it's on their minds. It's on the forefront of what they're thinking about this election cycle. This kind of topic, the agenda, the policies, the platform of the radical liberal movement in America. They align more profoundly and more earnestly with President Trump, the Arab American Muslim communities. And they do not align with Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. Arab Americans align more profoundly with conservative values, much more so than they do with liberal values. That might be an oxymoron. I don't think liberals have any values, but you get my drift, right? Remember, President Trump smashed all sorts of records in the primary season this year. And Hamtramck, which is a suburb of Detroit, not too far away from the Dearborn area, Trump won and crushed records there. Remember, Biden, back in the day, lost those areas in his primary. I could show you pictures where Trump is just smashing records up there in Dearborn, in Detroit, and the surrounding areas up there. And it's really, really good news. Even though back in 2020, Administrator Biden won those areas by more than 20%. This year, Trump is winning by upwards of 5 to 10 to 15 points. It's an incredible swing, and it is something that we need to remember and think about. So we see throughout the Republic, not only Arab Americans leaving this commu-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, but Jews are leaving that party as well. Catholics are leaving the Democrat Party in droves by the millions. Young people, Generation Z, I've said it a dozen times on other shows. None of this gets reported, and so you may be going, what, really? I haven't heard that. Well, of course not. They're not going to report it because they, the radical left, especially the radical left in the media, are under orders from the radical liberal commu-socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, their hierarchy. Do not talk about this. Put forth manufactured and fake enthusiasm for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz, no matter the cost. Earlier this year, Jewish billionaire Bill Ackman, he left the liberal commu-socialist party and now fully endorses President Trump. You've seen Elon Musk, you've seen RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, the list goes on. And by the way, each one of these people brings with them vast amounts of voters to the Trump side, to the right side. Now, the radical left can put up any celebrity they want to. Taylor Swift, Jennifer Lawrence, whoever. Name your celebrity. Name the celebrity that has endorsed Kamala Harris, and I will show you a celebrity that brings with him or her a net gain of 0 votes, 0 new votes. No one is going to say, hey, Ben Stiller just endorsed Kamala Harris. I think I'm going to vote for her. Nobody does that. On the other hand, when Elon Musk, Robert F. Kennedy Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, and others come to our side, they have reasonable people, middle-of-the-road reasonable Democrats who are thinking, you know what, I agree with them. The Democrat Party does not exist anymore. I'm going to go to Trump. And so that's the difference. And I'm telling you, RFK Jr., Tulsi Gabbard, Elon Musk represents about 20 million votes for President Trump, just in those endorsements. On their side of the coin, celebrity endorsements, net gain of 0 for the commu-socialist Democrat Party. So Michigan loaded with Muslims, lots of Muslims up there, and there's no way that Kamala Harris is going to win that state. I am telling you, bookmark this broadcast. Mayor Amir Ghalib endorses President Trump for 2 primary reasons. Number one, because Democrats have adopted radical, immoral policies. Flat out true. That's why other people are leaving that party as well and endorsing Trump. Jews and Catholics, Muslims, because the Democrats have become a coalition of immorality. And the second reason is that Arabs are 100% against this liberal woke agenda, which includes, as I mentioned, the LGBTQ kook movement, the Pride movement, this fiction of gender misappropriation, which doesn't exist unless it's in the it's a mental disorder for sure, but it is not a reality. And then the wussification of men, which is happening because of this woke agenda. Tim Walz, look at the guy. He's the poster man of the wussification of the American male. And people see this and they're saying, I don't want any part of it. Thank you very much. And then when we get to Minnesota, got good news there too. It's not too far away from Michigan. Trump is stronger in that state than Hillary was when they ran against each other. Kamala Harris is weaker than Hillary Clinton was in Minnesota. Now, Trump's not ahead yet, but look at how close it is. 5 points or so? And it is absolutely getting closer every day, even in Minnesota, a home state of Tim Walz. Then we get into the sunshine states. Like, take a look, Arizona by a landslide for President Trump right now. And continuing, Georgia, he's ahead there. He's ahead in North Carolina. These trends are continuing to surge for President Trump just at the right time. And for the love of all that is good, my friends, take a look at New York. New York! Now, no one really thinks that Trump is going to win. But this is so close. Biden won New York by 20 points. Kamala Harris currently is only up by 12 in New York, ladies and gentlemen. All right, polls trending. I know we don't put all of our eggs in one. We don't believe in the poll. We don't trust the polls. But there are reputable polls out there that I just showed you that are trending towards Trump. And people's opinions, more important than polls, the people that I talk with, the emails, the people that I see trending towards Trump. Ladies and gentlemen, this is great and hopeful news. We don't become complacent. We work hard. All right, I am up against a break. I'm going to be right back. We're going to continue to talk about this. I've also got a great guest, Emmet Connor, on the program coming up at the bottom of the hour. You're not going to want to miss the discussion with him. His book, The Red Pandemic and the Marxist cult, and so he'll talk about all of this. It is one discussion you don't want to miss. Ladies and gentlemen, will be right back. Stay with me. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Melissa and I have been taking Bella Grace, this powerful elixir, since last fall, 2023. The results have been amazing. My hands would crack and bleed, deep cuts and cracks every winter for years. No matter what we did, we couldn't get them to stop cracking and bleeding. This year, I took Bella Grace, no cracking, no bleeding. My acid reflux, gone. Haven't had to take a Pepsid. My hair growth, the last 2 times I had my hair cut, the lady had to use thinning shears on my hair. That's amazing. We've also received incredible feedback from you, our listening audience, and the impact it's had for you. This is loaded with astaxanthin. That's a powerful antioxidant. Collagen, but top grade collagen. Studies show 95% of it is being absorbed in the body because of the way they develop it. Then we have something called cat's claw. That's an anti-inflammatory from a vine in Peru. It's the bark, and it's an anti-inflammatory. There are about 80 clinical trials on Bella Grace. Please get a subscription now and save. MelissaHousebg.com.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show, The Right Side. Hey, want to tell you about beef. Doug's Beef, DougsBeef.com. This is not your ordinary beef. This is prepper beef. If you want to have a supply of protein on hand, I'm talking ribeye, strip steaks, Kansas City and New York strip, and T-bones as well. Doug's Beef, ladies and gentlemen, check it out. Comes to you in freeze-dried packets, shelf life of 25 years. And when you cook this stuff up, I'm telling you, I wouldn't sell it if it wasn't delicious. Awesome stuff. DougsBeef.com. Head over there, take a look at all of the inventory, and stock your shelves with protein, with good tasting stuff. DougsBeef.com, ladies and gentlemen. Check it out. There's the beef. Believe it. For the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Doug Billings, reminding you that conservatives are better looking than liberals.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. The Right Side with Doug Billings. Trump surging in the polls at precisely the right time. This is great news. Look, Trump always trends a little behind the national polls. Anyway, he polls lesser than what ends up being the case. We're seeing great results. We're seeing demographic groups within the country leave the, as I call them, the communist socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. Arab Americans, Jewish Americans, and people of faith, Catholics, leaving that party. And, you know, it may be, I admit, it may be just for this election cycle, because what they see from Kamala Harris and Tim Walz and all of that mess over there, that hot mess that is the policies, the platforms, and the politics of this coalition of immorality. These people are seeing these things and just leaving. They don't want any part of it. And this is underreported, if reported at all, except for places like right here. And it's no wonder that we see this when we think about the trust factor. More people than not trust President Trump. More people trust, even if they don't like the mean tweets, right? Even if they don't like his personality, they trust him to get the job done in all of the key statistical areas that you would want to trust a president. I can show you the numbers. Again, Americans all around the republic are breaking and trending for President Trump because they trust him on all of the key issues. You name it. The border, crime, education, national security, the economy, foreign affairs, all of it. They trust Trump. And so What we have is really a pathway within the Electoral College that will go for Trump. And that's just it. And that's, when you think about it, of course, that's why the radical left wants to get rid of the Electoral College. They want to go just purely by popular vote. And never mind that that's what a democracy does, and that's mob rule. And the founding fathers of this republic had specific and very passionate debates about not creating a democracy. Thank you very much. So the Electoral College is clearly in Trump's favor now. I think we're going to see a huge victory in the Electoral College for President Trump. He's going to win Michigan. He's going to win Arizona. He's going to win Pennsylvania. And if he does that, he's in the White House. Believe it, ladies and gentlemen. It really is that fundamental. I could go on and on about this. I could go on and on about the fake and engineered enthusiasm that we see all around us in the media and on social media platforms. It's all manufactured. It is not real, and you can sense it. There is no organic growth or enthusiasm behind the campaign of Kamala Harris and Tim Walz. None of it. I mean, Americans are a lot of things. We have a natural ability to sniff out the BS. And we can sense that from a mile away also. And we see it within the Kamala Harris campaign. These numbers in the polls, I'm not suggesting that we trust the polls. I'm saying that what I hear and what I see, evidence of the obvious, it bears thinking about, and it bears examining and analyzing why an Arab American mayor in a city, in a state, in the United States that is all Muslim, a city that's basically 100% Muslim. The city council is 100% Muslim. And the very first actions they take is to ban the liberal agenda, the LGBTQ kook pride flag, from being flown. The first thing they did. Okay, they understand that men are under attack. They understand that women are under attack by the radical left liberal agenda. And really, and I'm going to say these words because these words are important. All words matter. These words matter a lot. The radical left movement in America believes in something called gender misappropriation. Faith groups, whether you're Christian, evangelical, Catholic, all of those Christian groups, or whether you're Jewish or whether you're Muslim, view that as abhorrent. And it is aberrant. It is absolutely medieval. It's nauseating. It's disgusting to think that they would advocate that children, and they do this. The radical left liberal movement advocates that children who believe in this fiction of gender misappropriation would be able to find happiness if they would only mutilate their genitalia. That's what they believe. That's what they advocate. And so we have decent people from various demographic groups, Arab Americans, Jewish Americans, Catholic Americans, evangelicals, Gen Z, Asian, Black, Latino, we could go on, men, women, all trending for Trump and the conservative movement in America precisely because they realize the immorality of all of this. And that's, in therein lies our hope for November. We will prevail. Now, we don't become complacent. We continue to get involved, and we watch for the cheats that they know, that we know they will attempt to try again. The good news is, of course, that there are far more many of us now fully awake and aware of their shenanigans, so we can keep an eye on things. But be aware. And again, the trustability, especially with regards to the border, a very important topic because the border for them is the long play now. That's their long play, their long-term plan to fundamentally transform America away from the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. This is it. They want to fundamentally transform America by inviting multiple hundreds, dozens of millions of people illegally into this country so that they can become the new electoral base of the radical left. Vote for us, and we'll give you free stuff. Everything that you want, housing, medical attention, food, vehicles, you've got it. Benefits, absolutely. Oh, ID cards will hook you up, and then register to vote. And just as a thank you, we just appreciate it if you take this box of ballots and give it to the guy in the white van over there and turn them in. That's what they're doing. That's their long-term plan. Also, and don't forget this, very important as well, the American identity. The American identity that is rooted in exceptionalism, rooted in the inspiration and the divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers. All of that. Everything that America represents. Success, hope, liberty, freedom, life, all of these rights that come to us from God. Everything that America represents. Remember, the radical left movement in America wants to fundamentally transform us away from that. And so the border also serves that purpose. The more people that come in, unaffiliated, uncaring, not doing this by the legal processes that are set up, dilute the identity of America. And the radical left sees this as their advantage because they look over at Europe, specifically at France and at Germany, the UK, to a degree, Italy and Spain. But those countries, France especially, in my opinion, has no sense of itself anymore precisely because of their immigration problem. And so the radical left finds that this idea and concept of open borders expedites the decomposition of the American identity. And that's what they're after. Take it away. Take the identity of the American exceptionalism out of the picture. Oh, and by the way, create crisis and chaos along the way, because that tends to drive people to believe that they need big government to take care of them. Folks, the founding fathers had it right. Communities, local communities, we have got to have each other's backs. No matter what our political agendas are, as long as they're not radicalized on both sides of the aisle, that's important, because there can be radical right side folks as much as there are radical left side folks. We need to take care of each other. We need to be able to discuss and debate and carry on conversations, many of which topics we might disagree, but at the end of the day, be able to go to happy hour together and have a beer. You know what I mean? We need to be able to get to that point again in America. That's where we need to go. And I think that, again, what I'm talking about today is evidence that Americans want that. They are rejecting the radical left coalition of immorality and the policies, the platforms, and the politics that it represents. This is good news for us. There is this great reawakening, and I've said it before. I believe that this reawakening is going to continue to wake up so many people that we're going to see the vast example of the divine providence of God in such a form and fashion that has never been seen or witnessed before, even during the time of the founding fathers. And it was great back then, right? They all knew it. They all talked about it. We're going to see it. And it's because people like you are waking up to this entire agenda that of chaos and crisis that has been purposefully manufactured and cascade down upon us by Kamala Harris and the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party, that she represents. And remember, before I go to break, I just want to remind you that this term, fundamentally transforming America, is something that President Obama was the first one to coin. He was the first one to say it. No American patriot should believe or say out loud that America needs to be fundamentally transformed. No, she does not. Thank you very much. The divine providence of God and the intent of the founding fathers, as codified by words in our founding document, they got it right. America does not need to be fundamentally transformed. We need to be fundamentally rescued from the grip of the radical left woke agenda. That is for sure. All right. I've got a great guest coming up. You want to stay around. Emmet Connor on the program today, ladies and gentlemen, talking about his new book and this Marxist cult that he has seen take form and shape around the globe in many countries around the planet, including the United States, including his home country of Ireland. And he puts things in a way that I find very interesting. I was on X the other day in a Spaces listening to him talk about his book and about this phenomenon, and you're going to want to hear this. Very articulate, very passionate, very informative. Emmet Connor coming up right after the break, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away. I'll be right back. Cheers. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the set of my show. Coming to you, as I always do, from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain. And I want to talk to you about EMP, electromagnetic pulse. Now, these things can happen from the sun in nature and naturally, but they can also happen through man-made devices made by people who don't like us very much. And thanks to Kamala Harris, our failed border czar, we've got millions of people in this country who don't like us. Thank you very much, Kamala. Well, EMP Shield is a device like this one here that hooks up to your breaker box in your home, and it prevents your home and your electrical system from being fried in case of an electromagnetic pulse. There's a smaller version that you can put on the battery of your vehicle, so it is also protected. So head over to empshield.com, promo code Doug, ladies and gentlemen, empshield.com, promo code Doug. Believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.
The Right Side with Doug Billings.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Is the government tracking you? Do they have access to all your data? Well, if you go to worldviewtalk.com, you'll find out about a cell phone company that, well, does not store your data. They don't do that. This is what they're known for. They don't store your data. You have privacy. You're not being tracked. That's why a lot of folks are turning to worldviewtalk.com. You'll find their prices are very competitive. All the details are there at worldviewtalk.com. Again, worldviewtalk.com. Oh, while you're there, not only do they have cell phones that aren't tracking you, you can find out about how to get a satellite phone. Should the whole system go down and you want to communicate with a family member or loved one, you might want to have a satellite phone. Or how about their solar generators? They have great solar generators. Check them all out right now. Worldviewtalk.com, worldviewtalk.com.
I want to tell you about the good people over at EMP Shield, electromagnetic pulse, ladies and gentlemen. It can fry your home electrical system or your vehicle's electrical system. But if you attach one of these, now this is for your breaker box at home. There's a smaller version that goes on your battery of your car, your vehicle, that will prevent it from being fried in the event of an electromagnetic pulse. Because as you know, thanks to Administrator Biden, many people coming across the border now who don't exactly have the best of intentions. Protect yourself. EMPshield.com. Get huge discounts over there if you use the promo code Doug.
The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from the fruited plains of America.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, The Right Side with Doug Billings. Okay, my guest today, Emmet Connor, is the author of The Red Pandemic, the global Marxist cult. I want to bring him on right away and let him talk to you about this book. Like I said, I was on an X space with him the other day, and just an incredible amount of information about topics I think that you will find very interesting. Emmet, welcome to The Right Side. Reagan, let's bring him on. There he is.
Good afternoon, Doug. How you doing?
I love the accent. My homeland, Ireland. Emmet and I were talking a couple of days ago, and I told him that my ancestry hails from the Emerald Isle and Scotland, England, but primarily Ireland. And it's good to meet a fellow Irishman and to have him on the program. Welcome. How are you?
I'm doing well, sir. Thank you. Keeping busy. Everything's good.
Let's talk about it. Let's get right into it. Let's talk about your book, The Red Pandemic. Let's just start with that phrase of the book first. It's the global Marxist cult. And when you talk about defining red pandemic in your mind, what is it?
So basically, I chose the word red because it's just the symbol, or traditionally the color of what people call communism. And then pandemic is, I was trying to link it in with COVID and to show that we had a more serious pandemic, or we have a more serious pandemic of crazy revolutionary behavior, and that it's coming from Marxism. So a little bit sensationalist, but it makes perfect sense. That's the first part of the title anyway. And then the rest of it then is obviously drawing attention to Marxism and the fact that it is indeed a cult movement. So we're dealing with fanatics, basically. We're trying to build some sort of new world.
And this is so the global phenomenon is one thing. We'll get to that. In America, before I met you, if someone were to say to me, the global Marxist cult, I have said, at least for 4 years on this program, that what we see in our Democrat Party, and just for your sake, I don't really refer to them as Democrats. They have blended communism, socialism, Marxism, fascism. They've blended all of the isms together. And the Democrat Party of John F. Kennedy, I mean, for goodness sakes, the Democratic Party of Bill Clinton, in my opinion, doesn't exist anymore. It's this communist-socialist movement that has put forth several items within their agenda. And just to summarize a couple of them, again, in my opinion, immorality, a complete devaluation of morality, of basic, what we call here in America, traditional American values, which really I think can be defined as just Judeo-Christian values. And they absolutely are going to war with those values to fundamentally transform America away from that. Is that what you're seeing in Ireland and other countries around the world as well, Emmet?
Oh, absolutely. What you described, this kind of degeneration of the West, is a global issue, and that's what's helped me to wake up to what's happening. Is that I notice the patterns, mass immigration, the things that affect us, radical sex ed, the climate change movement, the control of free speech, you name it, the trans movement, all of it, the attack on Christianity, the same pattern all across the West, all in a coordinated fashion. And of course, this didn't all just fall from the sky. This is quite old. And, it's really created this situation now where we're all kind of in this kind of struggle.
I saw a clip, and I'm not going to know the details, the gentleman's name. This was a clip that was taken on the grounds of an Irish university over in Ireland, and there was a professor being arrested, literally being arrested because he dared to speak out against the liberal agenda. I think it was the transgender movement specifically that he was refusing to engage and refusing to advocate that children would, for example, benefit from this transgender ideology and the policies and the platforms and the politics that surround all of that. They literally put him in a paddy wagon and took him away. And we see this in Europe. We've seen lots of stories from the UK, Britain, England, when doing the same thing, posting on social media a certain opinion, whether it be in the form of a meme or a video or whatever, being actually literally physically arrested. Is this part of the Marxist cult?
Yes, so what you described there is pretty much, as we've seen, to state the obvious. First of all, there's a massive double standard being created, where if you want to get out in the streets and be part of a trans march, or you want to be anti-capitalist, or you want to march for Palestinian rights, you'll be just fine because they're all in line with Marxism. But if you go and criticize the ideology or contradict it in any way, you better watch out. All of a sudden you don't have rights. The humanitarianism they love to champion doesn't apply to you the minute you contradict their narrative. And the gentleman you described is Enoch Burke. He's a teacher in Ireland who he's part of a religious family who are staunch Christians, and they love to get involved with activism, and they're great characters. And he basically didn't want to go along with the whole gender labeling, fiasco. And then he turned up against court order and it turned into a big fiasco. Now he's been kind of in prison for quite a while, and he's a lot of protests because of it. So we can clearly see that totalitarianism is coming in now, and they've been trying to hide it as best they can. But of course, the more and more people complain, the more the state it can't hide it as well as it used to. And now it's getting a little bit obvious that this is very one-sided. The minute you go against this globalist internationalist monster, you don't have rights anymore. Ironically, they try to make you a second-class citizen. And I thought this movement was supposed to be against the class system, but apparently not.
Emmet, if you were sitting down to a table with a group of people who were not awake to the radicalization that in America we call the Democrat Party, who are not aware of the red pandemic, the global Marxist cult, the title of your book. If you were sitting down to a table with people who were totally unaware, how do you begin to explain to them and set up the truth about how this has taken place, how we got here? And let me just juxtapose that, because in America, I think many Americans look at 2020, the theft of an American presidential election and a pandemic were beset upon us. And for whatever reason, they believe that this catastrophe that we're in right now with the radical left Marxist cult movement was sprung upon us in 2020, when in fact, in my view, at least 126 years, this has been in the making. So how would you begin to wake people up if you had a chance to sit down and speak with them about this?
Well, I suppose, as you say there, it's very old and it's been very good. This ideology has been very good at repackaging itself. And how I would start is I would talk to an average everyday person and you would talk to them about mass immigration. Say, do you think it's okay for Irish people to be a minority in their own country or, to lead that way? How do you feel about radical sex ed? Do you think it's okay to teach that to kids? And when you if they're reasonable and they're not brainwashed, they will agree with you across the board on all these things. And then what I would do is make the link to Marxism, because they're all based on the class struggle principle anyway, which was contained in the Communist Manifesto. It used to be about the rich against the poor, the bourgeoisie and the proletariat. But in the 20th century, the ideology mutated into different forms. So now, the migrants are the oppressed class. Us Westerners are obviously the oppressors. And feminism, same thing. Men are the oppressors, females are the oppressed. And socialism, rich and the poor. The trans ideology, same thing. It's all based on the idea that someone's being oppressed and they need to be saved. I mean, even the climate change movement is quite an amusing example, because the planet's oppressed and we humans, us polluters, especially us capitalist polluters, are the oppressors. So it's the same formula wheeled out again and again. And I like to get that message across to people. All of the things they've been passionate about across the West in the last few decades are essentially coming from the one ideology. So my reasoning is, let's suppress the ideology and we'll start to see all these movements become derailed, because there's no fanaticism driving them anymore.
How do Marxists with this agenda get their foothold, Emmet? If we were to warn parents, for example, or anyone, how do they begin to get a foothold? How do they begin to sway what appears to be a lot of people? How do they do it?
Well, what's interesting, Doug, is that this thing is so old and it's become so sophisticated. I mean, say in the 1920s, for example, the Bolshevik Revolution was 1917. In 1919, under the orders of Lenin, they created the Third Communist International. So it's the Third Internationalist Communist Organization. And this is a key organization I mentioned in the book. And I actually listed every single communist group from since forever, in every single country, in every single continent. It took me a few months to put the tables together, but that was a key period, because even back then they were trying to get into the labor union movements, into education, getting involved in business, getting involved in politics. And even around that period as well, there was an Italian Marxist by the name of Antonio Gramsci. He was a big proponent of the idea of what they called the long march through the institutions, rather than having a violent overthrow with the pitchforks and so on, the torches. This was about injecting Marxist thought into the culture to slowly turn it Marxist. So they've been at this quite a long time. They're very, very good at it. And that's what you guys are dealing with in the States. As you mentioned, the Democratic Party are clearly Marxist. They're compromised all the way through. They represent the treasonous side, and the Republican side represents the patriotic side. And they've managed to get in because they understand that this is an ideological war. And they've had to hide their intentions. So controlling the education system, the media, the non-profit complex, you name it, it's all part of the game.
Emmet, we're almost up against a break. You have time to stay with me for the rest of the half hour here today?
Oh, yes, sir. Absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, great. All right, ladies and gentlemen, Emmet Connor on the program today, talking about his book, Red Pandemic, The Global Marxist Cult. I've got to take a break. We're going to be right back right after this message. Stay with us. Cheers.
Hello, I'm Brandon House. Hey, consider going to mypillow.com right now and get your pet a pet bed, just like my beloved Delta has right here in my office. Not only can you get pet beds, but you can get sheets, towels, blankets, and so much more. Slippers, sandals, robes, beach towels. It just goes on and on. But please go to mypillow.com and be sure to use the promo code B66. When you do, not only will you receive savings, but a generous percentage of each purchase comes back to continue supporting this 24/7 free broadcast outlet. We need your support. Hey, look, we're entrepreneurs, just like my friend Mike Lindell. We all need your support, and you're getting quality products at the same time. So please go to mypillow.com and use the promo code B66. Mike always has amazing specials going right there at MyPillow. So check out whatever those specials might be today. You never know. Mike's always changing it up and making new offers right there at mypillow.com. But be sure to use the promo code B66.
Doug Billings, driving the left crazy with the truth.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. The Right Side with Doug Billings, coming to you from smack dab in the middle of the fruited plain of the United States of America. My guest today, Emmet Connor, the author of the book, the must-read book, Red Pandemic, the Global Marxist Cult. Emmet, welcome back. Good to have you here.
Thank you, Doug. Great to be here.
Okay, obviously, as if your accent didn't give it away, you're from Ireland. You're in your homeland, you're back home, you get the idea for this book. What was the reason behind the idea for the book? Why the motivation to say this about what the Marxist cult really is?
Well, basically, it was around the time of about 2019, around that period, and I noticed the things I was describing, mass immigration, radical sex ed, climate change, all these things were hitting Ireland like in all the other Western countries. And even the climate change movement, Ireland is a very, very small country. It pumps out very little CO2, yet we were supposed to, change how we do things. It seemed to be quite bizarre. And obviously I knew about communism for many years, so I started to join the dots. Also, there was the COVID situation, which had the fingerprints of international communism all over it, and also the BLM events in the US as well. Those things came together, and I kind of looked around at, I could see the connections, but I looked around at public discourse in Ireland at first, and I realized no one was talking about the connection here with international Marxism. So I started to look at discourse a little bit more, realized hardly anybody was talking about this at all, and I kind of did more investigation and thought I really have to do something about this to raise awareness, because people were not joining the dots. And obviously one of the biggest consequences of Marxism infecting a country is the breakdown of sovereignty and this kind of fear of people being patriotic almost. So it was starting to cause real problems, and that's what kind of started me off and put the book together.
Does Ireland have an immigration problem, a border problem like such as the United States, in any kind of similar form or fashion? Is there an immigration problem in Ireland?
Oh, massively so. And Ireland is actually in a more serious position than the States, because you guys have a lot more land and a bigger population. You're pushing almost 340 million. Ireland is like almost 7 million for the whole island, including the north, or slightly over. And obviously we're starting to see the changes much quicker. In fact, there was a massive acceleration of mass immigration about, say, I'm not sure the time frame, maybe 5 to 10 years ago. There was a massive increase. It was almost like somebody hit the accelerator pad and they wanted Ireland to fill up faster. And we are at the edge of Europe, obviously, or we've got, the UK between us and the mainland, but they're coming in by plane mostly, and really making a big difference, causing a lot of problems, causing, breakdown the services, a breakdown of law and order, racial tensions. And you've even got the state is now getting more heavy-handed and shoving migrants into migrant sites, old factories, even hotels and touristy accommodation, you name it. And when the Irish try to protest, now things are getting a bit more nasty. We're starting to see the state getting very heavy-handed and using public order units or riot squads to suppress the people. Things are getting really, really bad.
Certainly sounds familiar. So we see those things happen here as well. And let's talk about the book specifically. First of all, let's make sure we get this out there. Where can people find the book? Where can they buy the book?
Sure. So for Americans and Canadians, I suppose Amazon is a good place to go. First of all, nice and convenient. But if they go to my website, resolvingor.com, so R for Romeo, resolvingor.com, there's a page on the website dedicated to the book. It's got a basic overview with the images, etc., and also where people can buy. So it's on Barnes and Noble and some other outlets as well.
Excellent. All right. ResolvingR.com, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure you head over there. Check it out. Amazon.com as well. The book is Red Pandemic, The Global Marxist Cult. You can't miss it, right? Red cover. It's got all, you can't miss it. Emmet, in my view, okay, so I talk about in America, I call them the Communist Socialist Party, formerly known as Democrat Party. And I caution Americans about anyone who says or states that America needs to be, quote unquote, fundamentally transformed. President Obama was the first American president to say that out loud, and it caused a lot of eyebrows to be raised back then. And even more so now in hindsight, I look back at that statement, and it's no doubt that's what they're trying to do. Now, this movement, this communist socialist movement, is in full, like you said, pedal to the metal, full force, full speed ahead. They have accelerated. They're no longer secretive. They're no longer hiding what they really believe. They want to fundamentally transform America, and they do it by attacking key pillars within this country. First and foremost, I think the traditional family unit. And this began years ago. It's nothing new. I mean, when you look at the liberal trends and their agenda, if we can attack the family, if we can convince women that they don't need men, and if we can then begin to project this, as I call it, the wussification of men, the wussification of the American man, if we can begin to do this, then the LGBTQ kook, as I say, movement begins to settle in and becomes more easily accessible. And then second, I think their agenda is one thing. Their policies, their platform, their politics, that's one thing. They do what they do. In America, we're in a presidential election season, as you know. I believe that the radical left movement in America's number one goal is not the presidency of the United States. I believe that the radical liberal movement in America, their number one goal is to move the needle further to the left. That's number one. Now, they'll take the presidency if they can get it. Absolutely. It's not like they're going to turn it down. But their number one goal is, in my opinion, to move the needle further to the left. And that includes every topic that we're talking about. I mean, imagine 10 years ago talking about this fiction of gender misappropriation and the mutilation of children's genitalia as a pathway to happiness if they believe in that fiction. That's the kind of stuff we're talking about. And that's what they want to achieve. The further left they can get us, the better. That's their goal. Do you get a sense that that might be right?
Oh, spot on. That there's no sign that there's a limit to how crazy they're going to push things. And looking at the history of the ideology, there's always another more extreme wave coming on the back of the last one. And usually, and we're seeing this a lot now, the new wave tends to wipe out the old wave, and they may even have infighting and so on. But yeah, everything you describe is all connected. And I agree that where they're pushing America, they're pushing that over to the window so much to the left that people have forgotten now. Being far right, like they say in Ireland, means you just got more traditionalist values. You're from the pit of hell if you're a traditionalist, because they've got it. What they've done is linking into what you've said. They've got a monopoly on virtue. They've managed to convince people that the difference between right and wrong is the Marxist interpretation of what right and wrong is, and all of the chaos you're describing, the degeneracy and so on. This, I often say, this is really Satanism repackaged. It's against everything that's natural and part of creation, and there's no limit to how bad they're going to push things, basically.
And I continually believe that what they do, this chaos that we see in America, the chaos that you see in Ireland, is obviously purposeful, not a doubt. Evidence of the obvious is sufficient. We can see this. In America, with the border, dilute the American identity, grow the radical liberal electoral base, give them voting privileges, make them citizens without following the law, all of it to create crisis and chaos, because they believe in the long run, if they can convince people, if they can surround people with crisis and chaos, then they can convince people that the fastest way to remedy that is through big government, the state, right?
Yeah, they have a big history of doing that, and that's why, as you say, they're diametrically opposed to anything that stands in the way. So they'll obviously go after any sort of notions of free market, the concepts of liberalism or classical liberalism, the idea of having a right to do things like the right to own property or right to vote or have your religious beliefs. All that must be swept away to build a new utopia. And the reason why they want to bring everything under the control of a centralized government is because, Marx et al. And Vladimir Lenin believe that the people, quote unquote, should be in charge, but really what you end up with is a bunch of Marxist nutcases in charge, and there's no more freedom. So the only freedom that's left, as I describe in the book, the only kind of freedom you're allowed is freedom to be Marxist. Everything else needs to be annihilated because it gets in the way of utopia. So, and to add on to what you were saying, a big mistake people make, Doug, is, as you well know, they try to reason with these people, and we've been watching this for years. They try to debate with them and convince them of things, but you can't reason with crazy, and you can't reason with fundamentalist ideologues, and they're looking down on us. They know what's best for humanity, and they're going to drag us towards utopia. And any sort of death or destruction or sexual assault or murder or economic collapse or hardship, all of that's going to be worth it, because utopia it's just within reach. We just have to experiment with communism a little bit more, and we'll get there.
Emmet, I can't thank you enough for coming on. Ladies and gentlemen, the book, Red Pandemic, The Global Marxist Cult. You want to check it out. Emmet's website, resolvingr.com, resolvingr.com. You can get the book over there, Amazon, Barnes & Noble as well, but check out his website. Emmet, one of these days, I would hope that, and I've invited you, and you're going to think about coming to my conference in Branson, Missouri in December. Ladies and gentlemen, that's determinedpatriotismconference.com. If he decides that he likes me well enough to say yes, he may well be down there. You may get to meet him in person. And Emmet, when that happens, I'd love to have a pint of Guinness with you.
No problem. We'll make sure we'll celebrate the day for sure.
Yeah, hopefully by December 13th and 14th, we'll be celebrating a Trump victory here in the States. How long will you be with us in the colonies, as we say?
I'm not really sure what the plan is, Doug. I kind of come over here taking a leap of faith, trying to spread the gospel here of anti-Marxism. So we'll see what happens, and I'm open, but I'll definitely be here in December for sure.
Okay, wonderful. Ladies and gentlemen, again, Emmet Connor, the website, resolvingr.com. Check it out. Emmet, God bless you. Thank you very much for being on the program. We appreciate you, and good luck with the book. Good luck with your time here in the United States.
Thank you, Doug. It's an honor. Thank you.
You bet. Ladies and gentlemen, that does it for me. Thank you very much for joining us. We are in this together, standing shoulder to shoulder, as we try to reclaim the Republic from the grip of the Communist Socialist, formerly known as Democrat Party. Remember, DougBillings.us. Head over there if you would. Consider a recurring monthly donation at DougBillings.us. And until tomorrow, take care of one another, ladies and gentlemen. Believe it, for the Republic. Cheers.